Are you stuck in a weight loss plateau and feeling like you're eating too few calories to make any more progress? In today's episode, we're diving into reverse dieting, a powerful strategy that can help speed up your metabolism and help break through stubborn plateaus. You'll learn why eating too little can slow down your metabolism and how reverse dieting can get it back on track. By the end of this episode, you're going to learn the tools to kickstart your metabolism and continue your weight loss journey successfully. Before we dive in, if you're listening on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like and subscribe down below. Today, I'm really excited to talk about a topic I've actually never discussed on this podcast before, and it's called reverse dieting. As I've continued to learn more and more about your metabolism and about metabolic adaptation, I have learned the importance of this philosophy called reverse dieting. So I'm going to start off by kind of defining the term and then talk about how it would actually be used. So what is reverse dieting? Reverse dieting is essentially eating more calories with the intention of boosting your metabolic rate, sparking what's called positive metabolic adaptation, making it possible to get back into a calorie deficit at some point in the future with the goal of future weight loss. So let's try to give you a little framework or a little example. If you're watching this or listening to this, it would probably be beneficial to take some notes, but I'm also going to be using my hands a little bit when I'm talking about this, so that might help if you're watching. But basically, let's say you have a goal of losing weight. What needs to happen if you have the goal of losing weight? You need to be in an energy deficit, or you need to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose body fat. So, okay, if I have the goal of losing body fat, then how do I make sure I'm in a calorie deficit? Step one is to figure out how many calories you are currently burning on a daily basis. And these numbers I'm going to come up with are just for sake of simplicity. It's for sake of easy numbers. Let's say somebody currently burns on average, it's always going to vary from day to day. But let's say on average, this person burns about 2,000 calories per day. And let's say this person currently weighs 200 pounds. Again, these are just completely made up numbers. This is just for the sake of easy numbers for you guys to be able to digest this. So this person is 200 pounds and they currently eat about 2,000 calories a day. And when they eat 2,000 calories a day, they are maintaining their body weight. So if they eat 2,000 calories a day and they're maintaining their body weight, that means they're also burning 2,000 calories a day. So that would be your maintenance calories. If your goal is to lose weight, you would want to be in a calorie deficit. And so for a lot of people, you want to find a calorie deficit that is somewhere below about a 200 to 500 daily calorie deficit. So for this person, that might be anywhere of averaging per day 1,500 to 1,800 calories. If you are then start to consume 1,500 to 1,800 calories on average per day, and you do that consistently, then you should theoretically lose anywhere from maybe half a pound to 1 to 1.5 pounds every single week. Great. You're seeing progress. You're making progress. But what happens if you're doing that for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks? What's happening? At some point down the road, that 1,500 to 1,800 calories is no longer going to be a calorie deficit for you, because what happens to your total daily energy expenditure? What happens to your metabolism when you are eating less calories? Your body starts to incur what's called metabolic adaptation, meaning your metabolism is going to slow down because your body doesn't like being in a calorie deficit. Your body senses that it's kind of starving when you're in a calorie deficit. So it will aim to hold on to those calories and be more efficient at burning calories. And efficiency we usually think is a good thing, but in this case, if you have more weight loss goals, it's not a good thing, because if your body is more efficient at burning calories, it means that it can do the same amount of work but burn less calories. So whereas you were burning 2,000 calories a day, because you've been consistently eating lower amounts of calories, let's say your new maintenance calories is 1,700. So now eating that 1,500, 1,800 calories isn't that much of a calorie deficit, and so you've hit a weight loss plateau. Now, for different people, this happens at different times. This might happen after 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks. It happens at different times for different people. But if once that metabolic adaptation happens, what do you do if you still want to lose more weight? So let's say now your maintenance calories are 1,700. You might need to bump them down to 1,300 to 1,500. For sake of simplicity, let's just say you bump it down to 1,400 calories. Okay, great. Now you're just eating 1,400 calories and you're going to break through your plateau and you'll see more weight loss. But then the same thing's going to happen over time is your body will incur metabolic adaptation. And at some point, your metabolism is going to slow down even further to where you're only burning 1,400 calories a day. You were burning 2,000, then you were burning about 1,700. Now you're just burning about 1,400. What happens if you want to lose more weight? Well, you can continue to push calories down, but at some point you can only push calories down so much further because then it becomes unsustainably low amounts of food. And so let's say, for example, when you were at maintenance, you were 200 pounds eating 2,000 calories a day. Then let's say when you were eating around the 1,700 calories a day consistently, let's say you lost 10 pounds before you hit that plateau. So you were at 190 pounds at 1,700 calories per day. But then you push it down to 1,400. And when you went down to 1,400, let's say you lost another 10 pounds. And so now you're 180 pounds consuming 1,400 calories a day. But let's say your target goal weight is 170. But you're already only eating 1,400 calories a day. And let's say for you, that's unsustainable. What do we do next? What we need to do is we need to use the philosophy of reverse dieting. So what the goal of reverse dieting is to boost your metabolism back up. So if you're currently eating 1,400 calories a day, we would bump your calories up to, I'm going to give you specific numbers here at some point in the future, but I want to just give you kind of a sample plan, if you will. We would bump up your calories next week to maybe 1,500 calories. A small increase, but an increase nonetheless. And then the next week, we might go up to 1,550. So just an increase of 50 calories. And then the next week, maybe to 1,600 calories. And the next week, maybe to 1,650. And the idea is that we want to slowly increase your caloric intake to do two things. Number one, speed your metabolism back up. And number two, minimize or eliminate the addition of any kind of body fat. Because if you're adding more calories back in, you're going to run the risk of putting weight back on. But if you do it slowly and gradually and conservatively, the likelihood that you're going to add body weight back on is smaller. And if you do add body weight back on, the amount that you'll add back on is going to be much smaller. Because if you went from eating 1,400 calories a day all the way up to 2,000 calories a day, then you're going to put on body weight relatively quickly. And so reverse dieting is slowly increasing the number of calories that you consume so that you can speed your metabolism up and minimize the amount of weight that you put back on. And then if you just slowly but surely do that week after week after week after week, you can work yourself all the way back up to your, before we even started maintenance calories, to 2,000 calories. Now, the chances of you going all the way back up to 2,000 calories and not putting on any body weight is probably going to be relatively small. But let's say, for example, that previously you were at 200 pounds. We got all the way back down to 180, but we were only eating 1,400 calories. And then over this long process, we worked our way up to 2,000 calories and we put 5 pounds back on. So we were at 185. So instead of being 200 pounds and 2,000 calories burning per day, we're now at 185 pounds, but burning 2,000 calories a day. So we're back to where we started, but in a much better spot with our body weight, but our metabolism has been restored. At that time, we can get back into a calorie deficit. We can get back to consuming that 1,700 calories. And then maybe we lose 10 pounds and get down to 175. And then we go down to 1,400 calories and you finally get to your goal weight of 170 pounds. So reverse dieting can be a great way to restore a slowed down metabolism due to constant dieting. Now, it can sound a little defeating because you've lost 20 pounds. Oftentimes, the last thing somebody wants to do is add 5 pounds back on. But that is honestly what's going to be the healthiest thing for a lot of people to do in their health and fitness journeys. And so I'm going to give you just a couple of kind of real quick numbers really quickly. So if we were to use this philosophy of reverse dieting, if you wanted to really restore your metabolism quickly and be aggressive with it, you would bump up your calories from 1 week to the next. You would bump up your calories about 20 to 30% from where you were all the way down to. If you were to be moderate with that, you would bump up your calories about 10 to 20%. If you were to be conservative with it, then you would only bump up your calories by anywhere from 0 to 10%. That's, again, if I decide today that I am eating 1,400 calories, but I want to start a reverse diet next week, then I would decide, okay, I'm going to bump up my calories. If I want to do it moderately, I'm going to bump them up by 10 to 20%. So I would take maybe, let's say 15% of 1,400 calories, and I would start consuming that on a daily basis. Again, if you are take a conservative approach, then the pros are that you minimize the amount of body weight that you'll add back on. The cons to that is it's going to take you a while to restore your metabolism. And then the flip side of things, if you are aggressive with it, the downside is the likelihood that you put on more body fat is high, but you'll restore your metabolism relatively quickly. So depending on your level of patience and what your weight loss goals are and what your tolerance is to adding body weight back on, you want to decide whether I want to be conservative, moderate, or aggressive. And that's, again, if I am currently doing 1,400 calories and I'm going to start a reverse diet next week, I'm going to make that initial bump. Then from week to week, if you want to be conservative with your reverse diet, you on a weekly basis will add maybe just 2 to 5% of calories. If you were going to take a moderate approach, you would add maybe about 5 to 8% of calories per week. If you were going to take an aggressive approach, then you would add greater than 8% per week from week to week to week. But again, generally speaking, I would say the minimum amount of time that you would want to do a reverse diet is 4 weeks. There is no maximum amount of time, but this last part is really important. Generally speaking, you would want to do a reverse diet until you reached the point of a healthy total daily energy expenditure, a healthy amount of maintenance calories. So, for example, for someone, a healthy amount of maintenance calories might be burning 2,000 calories a day. It's going to depend on your gender, your height, your age, your activity levels, all that sort of stuff. But you want to kind of work your metabolism back up, restore it to a place where it's actually healthy before you want to start dieting down again and getting to a calorie deficit. Today's episode was a very specific topic, but I also hope that it was very informative and very enlightening, because I find that a lot of people, they get to the point where they lose weight and they hit a plateau. And a couple things happen when you hit a plateau. One, it's disheartening and frustrating because you feel like what I've been doing in the past and has been working is no longer working. And so you think your potential to lose future weight is zero. And two things need to happen at that point. Either if you feel like you can push your calories down and eat less, then you can break through the plateau by eating less. If you're like, I am already eating very few calories and I can't eat any less, then you would need to employ reverse dieting. But what happens to a lot of people is they bump their calories right back up to what they were originally doing. So for example, if you were eating, if 2,000 calories was your maintenance, and then you went back down to, and then you got down to 1,700 and down to 1,400, and you saw that 20-pound weight loss. But then if you went right back to eating 2,000 calories a day, doing what you were previously doing, you will slowly but surely add all that weight back on. So your maintenance calories at the end of weight loss success is lower than your maintenance calories were when you started. So you can't go right back to what you were doing, or else you're going to add the weight back on. And that's what happens to so many people. You need to gradually and methodically and intentionally just slowly add some calories back in so that you can maintain your same body weight, but also restore your metabolism. I hope today's episode was helpful. If you have any questions about this, feel free to DM me on Instagram at carrier_bestyou, Also, if you want to take part in the 1-week free trial of the 10-week transformation, then go to nickcarrier.com/free trial. But share this episode with a friend or family member who has weight loss goals or who has maybe struggled with hitting plateaus at some point in the past. Share them this episode because it might be enlightening as to where they have gone wrong in the past and will set themselves up for success for future weight loss potential. I hope today's episode was enlightening. I hope it was informative. Make sure you share it with a friend and family member. Make sure you are following the podcast if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Other than that, I hope today's episode helps you get you closer to your health and fitness goals and ultimately get you closer and closer to your best you.